One of you actually sent me about this story. It kind of flew under the radar. So thank you for emailing this to me. Otherwise, I don't think I would have known about it. But there's a situation that happened in Oklahoma at a particular apartment complex where this is Section 8 housing. And apparently those residents received a 5-day eviction notice, not because they did anything wrong, but because the landlords decided to make a different decision. And we're going to talk about this as a larger issue as well. Residents at Oklahoma apartment complex come home to 5-day eviction notices. Make it a little bit bigger there. Families at Lakeside Village Apartments have less than 5 days to find somewhere else to live after receiving an eviction notice on Thursday. Resident Autumn Kane said, "It seems like I've got nothing but bad luck." That's the sentiment coming from neighbors at Lakeside Village Apartments. The complex handed out eviction notices, giving some less than a week to find somewhere else to live. "We don't know what to do at this point," says Eric Rodriguez, who's another resident. Rodriguez said he and his family are in their third different apartment within the complex, and the conditions have yet to improve. "As y'all can see, the walls are damaged. There's a lot of rodents in here. With things like this, it's stopping me from being a parent and basically giving them what they need." So there's actually a video of this on YouTube. I can't play it because of copyright, because it's local news, but you can also check out that video and you'll see these residents talking about this. After putting in numerous service requests, Rodriguez is now headed to court on Monday to fight the eviction. "We have over 30 work orders, and like all of them were just marked completed. None of the issues were resolved." Now I want to pause here for just a second. This is something that it doesn't just happen in Section 8 housing. You do have slumlords where they'll do this. Like you'll put in a work request, a maintenance request, and say, "I need you to fix this." They'll mark it as completed even though they didn't fix anything. I had a slumlord when I lived in Cambridge, Massachusetts. And it was one of those things where like you looked at the apartment and the apartment looked fine. Like I didn't see any issues. But as I was living there and time went by, I started to notice that the landlord, and we did have a slumlord, he covered up a lot of the issues either with paint or with patch holes. He would patch up holes so that it didn't seem like there was a hole there. But anyway, that apartment had a lot of issues. And he didn't want to fix the issues so that it would be a permanent fix. He only wanted to cover it up, so to speak, so that it's fine for a short time, because he didn't want to spend the money to actually fix that apartment permanently. And it turns out the whole building had issues. So it wasn't even just the apartment. But I want to point that out. However, now imagine someone living in Section 8. And imagine them dealing with these issues as well. It's not like they can just pick up their items and move to another apartment complex. A lot of times for people that are on Section 8, it can take 5 years to be on a waiting list to even get an apartment. So when they find an apartment for you, that's kind of where you are. It's not like you can't just go somewhere else that quick. But this story gets worse. So listen to this. Rodriguez said management told him the notice was for failing to pay his rent, but said after a new landlord started just months ago, renters can't get into the payment website to pay their bills. He said nothing has been done about it. We reached out to management for comment, but haven't heard back. Kane said the problems don't stop there. Water drainages. My dryer went out within the second day of me living here. We have not gotten that mail key, which keeps me from getting the bank card that I need. Kane stated she pays more than $1,000 in rent and has also voiced her concern. So I want to tell you again, this is Oklahoma, one of the states that has a lower cost of living. This is Section 8 housing, and you just heard a resident is paying over $1,000 a month for rent. So the rent problem is across the board. And I know people living in Section 8 that pay more than that. It goes on to say here, no progress has been made. I don't get any response, Everything here is just so out of order. Now, I want to go back up to this piece here where they said they went to the payment website to pay their bills, but they couldn't get into the payment website. Now, this is a small part of a larger issue in Oklahoma. I want to take you to this particular explanation. It says here, landlord explains why he and others are moving away from housing choice vouchers in Oklahoma. This is why they couldn't get into the payment website. So there are landlords, and I don't know if this is happening in your state too, let me know. But there are landlords in Oklahoma that have pretty much decided that they're not going to take housing vouchers anymore. So listen to this. A landlord explained why he and many others are moving away from accepting housing choice vouchers in Oklahoma. So it goes on to say Brian Mullins with the 1907 Investment Group manages around 100 rental properties. 35 of those are Section 8 eligible. Section 8 is very much in high demand. Mullins said the process of moving someone with a voucher into a home is slow and costly, leading some landlords to abandon the practice completely. Once landlords find a tenant to move into a unit, they must wait for a housing quality standards inspection, which can take weeks, leaving the home vacant until an inspection has passed. A lot of people, I know several property managers that just don't want to do Section 8 anymore because it simply doesn't make financial sense. And they mean financial sense for the landlords. So first and foremost, I want to remind you again that it can take up to 5 years to get into Section 8 housing, to be assigned an apartment or unit. If landlords in Oklahoma are deciding to move away from Section 8 housing, that means there's going to be even more of a shortage in Section 8 housing, which means there's going to be less units available for people who have those housing vouchers. So the question that I ask you, where are those people supposed to go? People who are approved for Section 8, they can't afford to live in the regular apartments that are not Section 8. They can't afford to pay like or at least here in Boston, they can afford to pay like $2,500 a month, $3,000 a month. This is all about profit. So when I tell you that some of the people who are living in these tent communities, number one, not all those people don't have jobs. And not all of those people are on drugs, which is another common thing that's said on mainstream media. Some of those people are people that have been evicted because of issues like this and because that eviction moratorium was overturned. There was a significant increase in the homelessness population during the pandemic. The homelessness population has increased by 25%. Let's go on. Where was I here? Because the amount of time it takes for us to place one Section 8 tenant is probably 2-3 times the amount it would take to move a non-Section 8 tenant to a property. The inspection looks to see if the house and the appliances are operating as designed, making sure the unit is safe to live in. Some landlords said these inspections are too tedious, prolonging the move-in process for tenants and leaving the landlord without income for weeks. The best case scenario is it's going to be 3 weeks after we submit that voucher before they will even do an inspection to even have an opportunity to sign a lease and move in. The home may not pass the first inspection. So then we have to fix it and start the whole 3-week process again to schedule another inspection. Probably 3/4 of the time we're not passing on the first inspection, even if it's super minor. That tells me there's an infrastructure issue. Because the thing is this, you shouldn't fail these inspections. It's pretty standard here. Like in Boston, it's pretty standard for them to have a fire inspection once a year. We used to get the notice that would come and say they're coming to inspect your apartment, the fire inspection. So to me, it's like these buildings, I don't know how old they are in Oklahoma, but they're very old here in New England. These buildings should not be failing these inspections to begin with. And what I've seen happen is some of these landlords, which we call slumlords, the reason why they're failing some of these inspections is because they never fixed these issues permanently to begin with. They basically just put a Band-Aid on it and said, good luck. And you'll see this, like there's other videos that I've done on the ground where I've talked to people about their living conditions where they're doing just that. Instead of fixing the roof or replacing a roof, they just try to patch up holes. And so the ceiling will leak in people's apartments. I've seen this is a common thing here, common thing. So the infrastructure, not just in these buildings, but particularly in this country, it is falling apart. Let's continue. When tenants can move into non-Section 8 housing rentals immediately, Mullen said he waits an average of 6 weeks for a tenant to move into one of his units. While he respects the purpose of inspections, Mullen said many units fail for reasons that are not safety issues. The tenants were not able to move in at one point because one little minor thing failed. And so Section 8 stops them from moving in. What is the minor thing? What's the minor thing that's failing? Leaders of the Oklahoma Housing Finance Agency, which operates in all 77 counties across the state, said they are confident they are doing a fair job of putting people in safe, affordable housing. They also said they value their partnership with landlords in Oklahoma. We value our landlords 100%. Without our landlords, we would not have a Section 8 housing choice voucher program. For the agency, it isn't the process that is pushing landlords away. Jenkins said property owners could simply get more money by not renting to Section 8 tenants. At the end of the day, this is what it comes down to: more money. And what people have to understand, having known people who have been on those wait lists for Section 8 housing, it's not easy to just get into Section 8 housing. And then you have this issue here in Oklahoma. Crazy times, man. And I just want to cover this piece here as well. In December, the Oklahoma City Housing Authority said they have seen an increase in the number of landlords stepping away from Section 8, but it isn't just happening in the metro. The Oklahoma Housing Finance Agency said this is a trend all across Oklahoma. I'm afraid that me and my sisters are just going to be homeless, trying to wait for these approvals, trying to wait for these Section 8s, these landlords, just whatever. That's coming from Rebecca Nunez. These are the kind of things that are happening on the local level that a lot of people don't know about. If it's not happening in their state or their city, if it's not national news, this was not national news. That's why I can't play the video, because it's on local news. People don't know these things are happening. And so for the people with the pull yourself up by the bootstraps mentality, the question that I have for you is this: what are those people supposed to do? So we have become a profit-driven society, even if that means that people will be pushed out onto the street. Pay attention, guys. It's happening all over. I'm gonna go to some of the comments here. What's up? Shout out to Roger Meadows for becoming a member or being a member for 5 months. Sabrina, I just realized that the people having the right to pass and repeal laws and ratify amendments makes them the fourth branch of government. Thank you so much for that, Roger. Oh, where is this? Oh, I did hit that right. Sorry. Thank you, Zach. RFK has planned to limit corporate-owned homes, citing a need to both fight BlackRock buying up housing and countering the WEF's "you will own nothing" strategy. That's interesting. We'll talk about BlackRock tomorrow because there's a climate story about that I'm going to get into. But thank you for that. And thank you for the super sticker, Donald King. Babel says it's illegal, I thought, local and national, to discriminate against Section 8 vouchers except on owner-occupied housing. I can tell you one thing from experience. Landlords seem to know the law really well, and they seem to find loopholes, right? Especially in states where the landlords are more likely to be protected than the tenants. Tenants have a lot of protection here in Massachusetts. Like, we have a lot more leeway, but I've lived in states, like when I lived in North Carolina, it was not that way. Jessica says, my friend's Section 8 landlord lives in New York. She mails the check there. He never comes, and no inspections. I guess no regulations here. Yeah, and it's different state by state. Thank you, Desert Mantis. In the early 90s, I rented a 2-bedroom house for $300 a month. Jesus, I don't know where you live or where you lived at that time, but I've never had rent that cheap. Wow. And Teresa says, why don't the squad push for more affordable housing? Ayanna Presley has pushed for more affordable housing, but the problem is, what I've noticed here is a lot of times it's privatized, and the affordable housing it's a tricky term, because affordable to who? If you look at the Boston City website, some of these units that are listed under affordable housing are like $4,000 a month. And so it's affordable for who? Because I can't pay $4,000 a month, So it's something to think about, really something to think about.